Hello, everybody. This is Ian from editing, and I just want to apologize ahead of time that the audio is kind of messed up because I've recorded this video like 2 or 3 times already, and it's like a couple of hours worth of content, and the volume's still messed up. So I don't really know what happened or why, but I tried to fix it the best I could, and I am just so sorry. But thank you for understanding, and I appreciate the patience with my making your ears bleed. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Pattycake. I'm an author and robot, and I'm sure you've been wondering where I've been. Maybe not. But I haven't done videos for the past week, and that's because for the last 2 weeks, my BFFL has been visiting, and he just went home, which means I now have time to edit videos because I'm sorry. So, before we get started, and today is obviously the first video of the month. It is now October. I know we're like 11 days into freaking October, and it's the first video of the month. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be worth the wait because we're doing Lmiay. It is your guys' time to shine. I am so excited to read your guys' story, but before we get started, a couple of things, and one of them not so normal. So number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and maybe join into the next Lmiay or Pitch Fit. Both are down below, and they are both ways to be featured on this channel. Look, I am very rough on books when I do book reviews. I have a very distinct flavor of what I like, but that doesn't mean that other people won't like a variety of things. So, Lmiay and Pitch Fit are my way of trying to spread the books without being necessarily a critique. Because I swear, if I read your book, it may be critical. I have some distinct flavors. Anyway, number two is Bleed More, Body More comes out at the end of this month. I know we are getting so close, 20 days now. The audiobook is pretty much done. It is Kieran Reagan, who did the audiobook for Dead and Drive, also did Body More, and he'll be doing the other two Body More books whenever they're done and whenever I'm ready to do those. And he is easily one of the most talented voice actors. So check him out, check it out. And finally, well, Sam left me with some art gifts, and because he is such a talent himself, also the cover artist for Bleed More Body More, check out that. I'm gonna share with you the art pack that he left with me because number one, this holographic nasty sticker. But here we have Mason from one of Sam's and my projects. Let's see, ghosts. I know, I need a better way to arrange this. I do not have any space on this desk. I swear on my life here. We have some Jarek action. This is one of my characters that I've made with the story for Sam. Goes along with Seth Graves here. So they just look like the greatest pair. Very tragic story these two are in. Here's another Seth. I freaking love his character design so much. It's so fun to look at. A little cat on a fish. A little demonic guy named Danya. This is more Mason, a movie pick. But Mason and Oberon, that's obviously his Chow Chow. This one's a lot of fun. This is his character Steph. Stefan. My character to go with that is Scotty, and he's just a good. They got the best friend thing going on. Unlikely best friends. I'm not knocking everything over, I swear. Got some this is really cool with the gold foil over the head. That was Sasha, I think is Tiger Shifter. Oh, we got more holographic Mason. There's a hand motif with Mason. Hands and eyes. And then we've got this Bleed More, Body More poster with Wayland, Joey, and Jag, and obviously Val in the background there. And then a standing cover of the Bleed More, Body More book, which you can actually find that in the merch shop down below if you really want one of those. But so those were just the pictures I just wanted to share. If you want to check out his art, check out the link down below to Spoopy Samuel. Just know that he does do not safe for work stuff. Yeah, but that's really all the warning that you get. Okay, so now without further ado, and then we've had a little bit of an art show. let's get into the open mic. So, the theme for this month, because now we have officially hit 1 year of Lmiay. Thank you, everybody who has submitted for the last year. I am so blessed to have you guys submit stories, write stories, respond to the prompts, and let me read them on this channel. I don't think anybody has submitted to every single one this year, but I do know people who have submitted to the first one and have submitted to this one. And I can say that I have certainly seen like so much play with ideas and with themes and with style. And it's been so fun to see you guys write and what you do and how you change your writing and play with things. And so thank you so much for blessing me and this channel with your guys' creativity. This show would be obviously inexistent without you guys. So thank you, and here's to another year. Obviously, now with October being red, there will be a link down in the description below. I know it's gonna be like slightly less time to work on a prompt this. So maybe I'll make it easy for y'all. Because I kind of I'm late to the game. Anyway, there will be a new Lmiay for November. Check that out, and the first submission is by Charles Robertson. Upon the 4th millennial anniversary of when it entered its lengthy hibernation, the occultists joined hands to encircle the ground it slumbered beneath. A great white rock, with many great and little holes that ran right through, found upon a cliff with a steep drop, marked the spot of its burial. In unison, they sang the chants of language that did not belong to man, as the moon began to take its course betwixt the sun and the earth. In their white robes as clean as their shaven bodies, the occult master bathed his flock, one by one, with a full bucket's worth of whale shark blood each, painting them red. The light continued to fade away, and the chanting grew louder as the master climbed to stand upon great white rock. In the black robes that were stained by his sweat and tears and urine and feces and blood, a second coat to his long unwashed hair and beard that engulfed his body entirely. Only as the sun was covered fully by the moon did the occultists each pull a wooden rod aligned with a long and sharp ice skate-like blade and slit their throats, falling as to let the blood flowing from them pour into a hole of great white rock, staining and lubricating the inside as well as forming red puddles beside the exit. The occultist master continued the chanting alone, emptying his bowels and stomach as he did so. A sludge oozing from each end of the hollow tube ran through him. His eyes rolled back to white, and he dropped his robes to reveal a 5'10" bundle of hairs and fluids with his face. The ground beneath shook as it awoke and tunneled to the surface. The ground beneath shook as it woke and tunneled to the surface. The occult master struggled, but did keep his balance. As the sun began to reveal itself once again, slug-like things emerged and one by one found a hole on a rock to enter, detached and fusing back together as they did so. And when it was within its shell, 4 of its sluggish limbs grabbed the occult master by each of its own limbs, pulling him tightly to the rock it resided within, and another of its limbs slithered within his mouth, shooting deep down to reach his innards as the master continued to grumble the chant in struggled chokes. Its remaining countless slugs for arms slurped up the blood of both occultist and whale shark that had been spilled within, upon and around its shell. The moon had now moved out of the sun's way, allowing the full light of day to beam down to the earth. It would have to make its journey now, as it dislikes the dryness the sun's light causes. With the blood consumed, it shall retreat, and the gift clutched tightly. The ball of eyeless slugs gently rolled itself off the cliffside, crashing and bowling across the beach and into the waters, sinking quick to great depths, poking itself out to roll across the floors or to grab at the occasional prey that wandered within its grasp. The gift began to crash from the water pressures, every orifice spewing blood as it went from man to mangled flesh, fit for the creature to slurp into its shell, piece by piece. It would spend most of its time awake, rolling across the depths, only on rare occasion to the shallow waters or floating upon the surface, for the untold quantity of time until it grew tired, slithering its way upon land to find a cliff to bury itself beneath for another 400 years of slumber. This feels like the prologue for something that's Lovecraftian. Is that correct? Or this could also stand on its own to just be kind of like a creepy story. Like, have you ever seen the magazines, books maybe, where you've got the creature picture on one side and then kind of the tail of the creature on the other side, or a little bit of a story on the other side? This feels like that's what it could be. Is either a prologue or something that is going to use this later in the story, or part of a monster manual or a monster manual. That'd be a pretty fun project to do, honestly, like an anthology of everybody writing different monsters or different monster tales like this. Very cool. Very, very good with the setting. I mean, the vibes were like there. The next story is by Ken Wells, titled The Fresh Coat. Peeling off the walls, the paint fell in clumps onto the bare, white tile floors. The breeze from the fan sent the flakes swirling around and round in an endless vortex, crumbling to dust. Little evidence still existed of the previous coat of paint. Sophie stood with her broom while watching the last flake fall to the ground. A sigh escaped her lips as she contemplated her next move. It was her job to restore the room, or so she was told. She had seen the ad online with sparse details. It had read that the applicant needed people skills, cat-like reflexes, and ample strength to carry heavy loads. What all that had to do with sweeping the floor? She had no idea. Walking down the hall to Larry's office, she looked through the windows of the other doors. No other room's paint was chipping. How had they all managed that? Something was up. Something was up, and she knew it. Knock, knock. Who is it? Larry said without looking up from his laptop. Sophie. Who? Larry asked, still not having looked up from his laptop. The girl you hired to take care of room 72? Sophie said while she walked up to his desk. The fat old man kept typing with his stubby little fingers. His shiny bald head glistened under the glow of the fluorescent light. Sweat streamed down his face despite the air conditioning. He wiped his forehead with a handkerchief before he finally raised his gaze to look at Sophie. And? It needs a new coat? The last bit of paint just fell off. Larry scoffed. After a short pause, Larry looked at Sophie with a confused-looking face. Aren't you going to give it a new coat? All the paint buckets are empty. Larry chuckled as he said paint under his breath. Sophie could tell that something was amiss, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She looked around and saw several diagrams of human anatomy. Those pictures had always seemed fairly out of place, figuring that this was not a hospital. Sophie didn't even know if the building was used for anything at all. Well, you better go fill the buckets then, Larry said impatiently. Where do I fill them? A grin grew across Larry's face, which made Sophie's skin crawl. She felt his eyes roaming across her young body, but it oddly didn't feel sexual. It felt like something else. Something that she hadn't experienced since she was a kid. Not since she had encountered the coyote. Basement, door 5. You might need to draw it from the source if you know what I mean. Confused, Sophie backed her way back out of the doorway. She scurried down the hall to the elevator. Her footsteps echoed in a way that sounded like someone was following her, but every time she looked back, no one was there. She slipped into the elevator and rode down to the basement level. It was dark and dank down there. The smell of must and cat piss hung in the air. Only one flickering light bulb was lit, dangling from a loose wire. As she approached door 5, she heard groans, pressing her ear against the door. She listened intently. It was unmistakable. Children were groaning within the room. Sophie took a breath, then opened the door. Hundreds of children, all with IVs in their arms. The IVs ran down into the buckets, which were nearly spilling over with blood. Sophie ran as fast as she could back up to Larry's office. She skipped the elevator, darting up the stairwell. By the time she had arrived, she was just as sweaty as him. Panting, she asked, "Why are there kids?" "For the paint." "Why are you using blood as paint?" Larry looked up once more from the laptop with a smile. He leaned back in his chair and folded his arms behind his head. "Do you hear it?" A grumbling gurgle noise was emitting from down the hall. What is it? It's dinner time. See, we got kind of a theme going on here. Some Lovecraftianness, some blood, blood sporting, perhaps, some ritualistic stuff going on, and feeding time. Well, will the anniversary be 5 out of 5 feeding? That is the question. I could see. We know we knew that Larry was kind of going to be a gross guy up here. This is just the description of him. Ken, I've read your other stuff. I know when you like a character, especially a female character, they are described as quite beautiful. I mean, maybe that's just the character in sus minds, but short, fat man, stubby fingers glistening with sweat. You're like, this dude is shady as frick. He's being described as shady as frick. He's going to be shady as frick. The pacing on this is super good too, by the way. And the dialogue interactions, it all read very, very smooth and had the atmosphere. I only question why there wasn't the smell of blood when she made it to the basement, just the smell of cat piss. And because if buckets were overflowing with blood, you would smell that. The next story is by RSAlessi. We should celebrate. Mindy bounced on her toes so hard her high ponytail bobbed forward into her face. Huh? Cliff muted his Xbox headset and glanced up. Mindy buried her hands in the front pouch of her hood. Yes. His eyes darted back to the television. The screen had turned a misty red. No surprise there. Dave was way better at first-person shooters than he was. Let's see. Is today the 14th month anniversary of the day that we met? No, silly. Mindy flopped onto the sofa beside him. You know that was last week. He did. And he could never keep track of dates. Mindy was way better at it, so he left that job to her. 11 months since we started dating? That was wrong, but if he didn't toss something out, he'd ruin Mindy's game. Now you're not even trying. He furrowed his brow in mock concentration. Has it been 4 months since you moved in? Damn if that wasn't the best day of his life. Nope, that's 2 days away, but you're getting warmer. Warmer meant more recent. Thought of the past 4 months, a jumble of happy memories. Nothing stood out, but leave it to Mindy to find a bright spot worth celebrating. Do we need a reason to celebrate? She giggled. No, but I've got one. He studied her closer. Mindy really was excited. I give up. She grinned. I was putting laundry away. Your sock drawer is a complete disaster, so I organized it. He straightened and tried to keep his tone casual. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And that was yesterday, which makes right now the 24-hour anniversary of me finding this. Mindy pulled a small velvet box from her pocket. He plucked the box out of her hand. Damn, I had plans for this. I know. I thought about waiting. Maybe I could have faked surprise. He chuckled. Mindy was a notoriously bad liar. It's okay, babe. Come here. He pulled her onto his lap and opened the box to reveal a modest engagement ring nestled inside. It was more than he could afford, but Mindy deserved it. He slid the ring onto her finger. Guess my sock drawer was a stupid place to hide it. Yeah. She held her hand at length and tilted her hand from side to side to admire the small diamond. It's beautiful. Yeah. He wasn't looking at the ring. Damn. Now I've got another anniversary to remember. Don't worry, honey. She kissed him. I'll keep track for you. Look, so surprised. I'm so freaking surprised. No ritualistic killing in here. It's just a cute story of people getting married. Maybe like an intermission. Maybe we'll get more ritualistic killing in the second half of this. But how very cute, especially because RSAlessi, I know that you've done some shady things with a lot of murdering people. And a lot of some magical stuff coming too. That was cute. And the interaction. So cute, so good, so natural. The next story is by Phil Greeley. Deep night cloaked Ileron and I as we stole across open ground in the Stone Fairy Mountains. Daughters of Hamelance and Ellen, we crossed the tree-studded slopes, lit only by starlight, pine, and honeysuckle scenting the air. Ahead lay Father's gravesite. As he taught us, we hid our presence from the world about, sensing that of others. Yet I felt Ilran's anger waxing as we traversed the clearing, while Father's pale ghost, Temmerance's Kelsayer, wandered the surroundings. Tonight marked 3 years since Ilran thrust her knife into her heart and fled our home. We both knew this too well. I sought the truth of why. My gift, the soul touch, would reveal it. Communing with souls, communing with soul, communing with souls brooked no deception, but I needed to convince Ileron and Mother to join me. Father's spirit, anxious to be at peace with his soul, would join. Miralyn, why have you brought me here? Ileron's soft, quaking voice carried across the dark. On this of all nights, you must know the truth of him, and I must learn the truth from you. Why here? Oh, why here? Why now? Father only rises once a year and is vulnerable when he does. We must soul touch before the Varlock return. That evil spirit has found the grave. I have no desire to speak with the Kelsayer, Ileron said, using our people's name for the ghost of one who has been murdered. We must do this. It'll put Father at rest. Father was set to kill Mother. You know this. I saw it. Ileron drew even with me. I turned, facing my older sister. Auburn hair, like Mother's, gleamed dark copper in the wan light. You knew that. How? A vision? Your spirit sight? Yes, my gift, Miralyn. We all have something. Ileron turned away. I mistrust your vision. The Verloc creates them. It is the imprisoned one's agent and sows deceit. Father was no more going to kill Mother than she, the Silver Rose, was going to release the fiend she imprisoned. We converged on the grave. Father ignored us, facing the deep woods. Would Mother show as I asked? I felt the Vorlock's malevolence, distant yet too close. A silver light flickered among the trees. Mother. Good, I thought. We may have enough time, but Ileron grabbed my arm and spun me. You have brought her here? She will listen. She must. I broke her grasp and turned towards Mother. What have you done, Miralyn? Mother asked, voice shaking. Why is that murderer here? Distracted by wrath, she would not hide her presence nor perceive the Verloc's danger. I felt the monster approaching, perhaps too close to complete the soul touch. I worried. Mother, Ileron, we must soul touch with Father, now. Father faced us, silent. He raised his right hand, pointed at Ileron. She stopped short, hand going to her sword hilt, an enchanted blade that cleaved both flesh and spirit. Ileron, no! I held my hand out. Join me, Mother, join me. We have little time. I felt their fear and anger, their hesitation. Each looked at the other. The night air was taut. Finally, both approached, took my hands. Turning to Father, I began the soul touch. Now I could learn the truth of their souls. Though beliefs could be false, the soul knows the truth. I expected some difference. It was all I could do. Through the spirit touch, Father spoke. Ileron, why? A welter of sadness, anger, and love flowed over my senses. You would kill Mother. I saw it. And Ellen was seduced, he said, using Mother's name. She would release the imprisoned one. No, she would not, answered Ileron, angry and resigned. I saw this also. I would do no such thing. Mother's urgency was palpable. Witnessing this exchange, I saw the disturbances in Father's soul. His vision and the truth conflicted. This was my proof. My belief was vindicated. I saw in Mother no intention to undo her confinement spell, no seduction at play. And in Ileron, truth and vision again were different. She accurately saw what Father believed to be true, though it was the Vorlock's falsehood. You saw a false vision, Father, I said. The Vorlock's deceit. Ileron, you saw Father's misconception about Mother. How can we know this, Miralyn? Asked Mother. By soul touch. Souls cannot lie. The imprisoned one created the Vorlock to haunt our dreams, to feed on our spirits. It will consume Father's spirit and grow stronger. As we speak, it draws near. Ileron, you must apologize to Father, to Mother. If you two believe me, you must accept. Father, trust will put you to rest. Beyond the Vorlock's reach, do you trust me? Do you trust that I see the truth in your souls? 'Cause I do. 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 My heart quickened, sweat beaded on my brow. Would they trust me? Would the Vorlock show first? What of my spirit sight? Asked Ileron. It shows me truth. Yes. But you saw what father believed, and this was a falsehood. Ileron paused, emotions fighting, fear and shame almost overcome her remorse, stifling her. She struggled to speak. I, I, I'm sorry. Father, I apologize. Mother nodded, tears gleaming in the starlight. Father also nodded once, and his shade disappeared, dissolving into the night. They accepted. Father's spirit went to rest. Father's spirit went to its rest. The Vorlock could not harm now. I released hands, ending the communion. With a soul touch complete, we were no longer defenseless before the Vorlock. It is done, I said. Father is at peace. Thank you, Ileron. Thank you, Mother. It is for us to thank you, Merlin, said Ileron. Yes, thank you, my daughters. We left Father's gravesite, lost in thought. The imprisoned one would remain so, I hoped. We returned home, but Vorlock remained, and I felt its anger, cheated of a spirit to destroy. This feels like part of a bigger fantasy story, possibly, probably, maybe a pivotal point. I'm wondering if this is a bigger book, Phil. Also, I think this is your first time submitting, so submitting. Is this a bigger part of like a bigger series, maybe, or an epic that's like, this thick? Because that's how thick all fantasies have to be, apparently. Anyway, you did a very good job of like naturally introducing information and keywords or special words for stuff in this book and making it very natural without having to go into exposition. That was very nice. Also atmospheric, and also no ritualistic killing, though there was some murder that happened in that. So take that how you will. Now, finally, last story of the month is by Ryan. The harvest moon was full in the sky, casting its romantic glow on my home tucked into a coastal forest on a mild October night. This night was special in particular because the red-orange glow only showed itself every 3 years in the 10th month of the calendar year. This celestial manifestation also marked the day my body and soul was scarred. As I sat in the meadow of my backyard, I could hear the waves crashing against the cliffs at the edge of my property. The sound soothing the anxiety building in my body. I caught his scent mingling with the salty air before I saw him outlined in the shadows. I whispered, "Come to me, my love. I've waited too long for you." He stepped out from the forest line, illuminated by the glow of the full moon, his massive body stalking toward me. The closer he got to my vulnerable position, the more clothing he removed. His jacket and shirt were tossed in the tall grass. The light of the moon enhanced the lines of his muscular body. Each step he took, his hard muscles flexed beneath his tanned skin. A few steps from me, he opened his pants, releasing the heavy length of his sex. A low growl formed in his chest as he seated himself in the cradle of my thighs. I felt the rigidness of his cock lying on my stomach, the base of sex pushing against the apex of my thighs. His gentle kisses peppered my face, the tip of my nose, my cheeks and lips. The gentle greeting transformed into a fierce need to taste my mouth. His tongue licked the seams of my mouth. My lips parted. His tongue swirled around mine. I returned the erotic kiss back. It had been 3 years since I was visited by my male. The punishment served to my mate 9 years ago only allowed us to see each other every third harvest moon. His sentence for decapitating the queen's son. The prince had been corrupt by vanity and entitlement. Over time, he chose to take what he wanted instead of giving his service and protection. On that fateful night, the prince splintered our wooden doors apart and viciously assaulted me. My mate came home for the violation of his wife. By law, he was allowed to kill anyone that touched his mate in an unkind manner. The queen overruled the law and punished my love instead. I replayed the scene over in my head every time I met with Lars after each separation. Desperate to forget the darkness that feasted on my countenance, I wrapped my arms around his neck, frantic with fear of losing him once the moon began to fade, preparing for dusk. My love, I've missed your touch, the safety of your arms, the power of your body. He looked into my eyes. Sadness had darkened his once glowing amber eyes. It has been too long, Francesca, since we have joined, and I have marked my beautiful. His feathered kisses on my neck and chest relaxed my nerves. He used his sharp and elongated incisors to rip the neckline of my dress, slicing the front completely open. With my body exposed to the night sky, shame washed over me. No, please, my skin. The scars you bear are a testament to your bravery. Lars ran his hand down my body. His long fingers traced a line from the valley of my breast to my navel. My thighs shook from knowing what he would see. The scars her son left would never vanish. Dipping his head down, he licked the tip of one of my hardened peaks, sucking it into his mouth, teasing the sensitive skin with his teeth. My thighs clenched against his massive body as he did the same to the other. His soft kisses trailed down my body. The pleasure of my mouth kicked my need for him into a fever pitch. His hand slid down the inside of my thigh and let the weight of his strong hands rested on the deep red claw marks made by the prince with his jagged nails as he pried my legs open, scratching over and over until the blood coated his hands and dripped onto the floor. I fought him as long as I could, and when my strength waned, he reached for the opening of his pants. His dick in his hand, and he licked his lips and said, "This'll destroy you, but feel like heaven for me." At that moment, Lars threw him from me. He ripped the prince's throat out and pulled his head off with one violent movement. My physical wounds healed over time, but the emotional scars always lingered in my mind, exacerbated by my mate's banishment. My insecurities during the day were nightmares at night. Alone and vulnerable, when Lars and I were together, I want to be beautiful. He stopped me. I love you. You are mine and I am yours. Nothing will ever change that. Now, let me love you. He kissed me deeply as he pushed his thick length in me. My wetness guided him to the hilt. He rested his body on mine, covering me, protecting me. My plan to avenge Lars's injustice would happen soon, but until then I will savor our allotted time together. I will enjoy the rock of his hips against mine, the thrust of his length deep inside of me, his spicy scent left on my skin, the delicious pain of his bite, and the strength of his climax. I hold on to the love of my life until he must disappear once again, knowing that I would take the queen's head one day soon. Then we would have our happily ever after. The chemistry in this piece is palpable, Ryan. For real. The description leading up is also really, I'm trying not to talk too much about cock, okay? The description leading up with the inference of him as a ghost is so good. Like, I could see so much change in your style since last year when you first submitted. Just like taking your time, being in the moment, setting the stage is all there and you can feel it and it builds the anticipation and the characters have the chemistry. Like, of all of the things that you do super well, chemistry is like the big one. And you know how hard chemistry is to do right? There are entire romance books and romance movies where the characters have zero chemistry whatsoever. They're just together because the writer said be together. But you have got chemistry down. And I'm invested in this revenge plot. It's not, is it really revenge plot though? It's like you followed the law and then you still got screwed even though you followed the lines of the law. I don't know if that's so much revenge as just making what needs to happen happen. So, but I'm invested. Is this part of a bigger story or just a little thing that you did for the anniversary? Let me know. So those are all of the stories for this month. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for submitting. Apparently, we went from cults and killing to different kinds of love here at the end because you got the anniversary, then you've got the familial love, and then you've got this romantic lustful love. So interesting switcheroony here. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the stories this month. Let me know what your favorites were down in the comments below, and maybe check out the Lmiay prompt for next month. Consider joining yourself. With all that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great week, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross.
Is he in trouble?
We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Way. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?